The snow crunched under Mei Chen's worn-out sneakers as she walked through the dark forest. Her breath came out in white puffs and her fingers felt numb even inside her thin gloves. She shouldn't be out here. She knew that. But when your 6-year-old daughter hasn't had a real meal in 3 days, you do things you never thought you'd do. 3 months ago, Mei had been a different person. She taught art at Lincoln Middle School, had a small apartment, and could afford groceries without counting every penny. But that was before the final hospital bill arrived. Before she realized that even with insurance, cancer treatment costs enough to drown you. Her husband David had fought so hard, held on for 2 years, and in the end all Mei had left was memories and $63,000 in medical debt. The apartment went first. Then the car, though she managed to buy an old Honda that barely ran. She tried to keep teaching, but missing work to handle debt collectors and court dates cost her the job. The Honda became their home. A 28-year-old woman and her first grader, living in a car in rural West Virginia, seemed like something from a movie. Except movies don't show you how it really feels when your daughter asks why you're not eating, and you lie and say you already did. Mei had been driving through these mountains looking for work, any work, when she'd spotted the cabin yesterday. It sat far back from the main road, tucked into the trees like it was hiding from the world. But what caught her attention was the chicken coop. She could see it from the road, a neat wooden structure with wire mesh, and she'd watched several fat hens pecking around in the yard. She'd driven past it 3 times, arguing with herself. Stealing was wrong. She'd never stolen anything in her life, not even a candy bar as a kid. But yesterday Lily had been so pale, so quiet. The food bank had been closed when they got there. Something about a burst pipe. They'd eaten the last pack of crackers for breakfast, and Mei had given most of hers to Lily. Now it was past midnight, and she was really doing this. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. The cabin was dark, not a single light on. Maybe nobody was even home. She tried to convince herself of that as she approached the chicken coop. The chickens made soft, sleepy sounds as she carefully opened the wire door. The smell hit her immediately. That barn smell of hay and birds and warmth. Her hands shook as she reached into the first nesting box. 3 eggs, still slightly warm. She put them carefully in her jacket pocket, cushioned by a dish towel she'd brought. In the next box, 4 more eggs. In the third box, she found 5.12 eggs total. Enough for several meals if she was careful. Relief flooded through her, mixed with shame that made her stomach twist. She was backing out of the coop when she heard the voice. Those chickens wake up pretty easy when strangers come around. Mei spun around and nearly dropped all the eggs. A man stood about 10 feet away, holding a flashlight pointed at the ground, not at her face. Even in the dim light, she could see he was big, broad-shouldered, with a thick beard and dark hair pulled back. He wore heavy work boots and a canvas jacket, and he looked like he belonged in these mountains. "I'm sorry," Mei heard herself say. The words tumbled out fast. "I'm so sorry, I know this is wrong." "I know, but my daughter, she's only 6. And we haven't eaten, and I just needed, I'm sorry." "I'll put them back." Her hands fumbled with her pocket, trying to get the eggs out without breaking them. Tears burned in her eyes, and she couldn't tell if it was from shame or fear or just exhaustion. This was it. He'd call the police. They'd take Lily away. Child services would say she was an unfit mother. And they'd be right, because what kind of mother steals and lives in a car? "Stop," the man said, and his voice was quieter than she expected. "You're going to break them if you keep shaking like that." Mei froze, her hand still in her pocket. "You said you have a daughter?" he asked. She nodded, not trusting her voice. "Where is she?" "In the car," Mei whispered. "Down by the road." "She's sleeping." I locked the doors and told her not to open them for anyone. The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said something she didn't expect. "Wait here." He walked toward the cabin, and Mei stood there, confused and terrified. Should she run? But he knew about Lily. He could still call the police. And honestly, she was too tired to run, too tired to do anything but stand there in the cold, holding stolen eggs, waiting to see what happened next. He came back carrying a cardboard box. He set it down and started filling it. Eggs from inside the cabin, more than she'd taken. A bag of something, she couldn't see what. He went back inside and came out with more items. When he was done, the box was full. "There's 24 eggs in there," he said. "Some vegetables from my garden that I canned last fall. Green beans, tomatoes, carrots. Smoked venison, that's deer meat. It's good, tastes like beef. Some potatoes, onions, and a loaf of bread I made yesterday. May stared at him. I don't understand. You got a can opener? What? A can opener? For the vegetables, yes, in the car. Good. He picked up the box and held it out to her. Take it, why? The word came out barely above a whisper. He was quiet for a moment, looking at her in the darkness. Because your daughter's hungry. And because once, a long time ago, somebody helped me when I needed it. Figured I should pass it along. May's hand shook as she took the box. It was heavy, heavier than she expected. Heavy with food, real food, more than they'd had in weeks. I can't pay you. Didn't ask you to. I don't understand why you're doing this. The man shifted his weight, looking uncomfortable. Look, I'm not good at talking. But I saw your shoes. They got holes in them and it's 20 degrees out here. I heard desperation in your voice, not meanness. There's a difference, he paused. Your daughter, she okay? Besides being hungry, I mean. We're managing. You living in your car? May wanted to lie, but what was the point? Yes. He nodded slowly like he'd expected that answer. How long? 2 months. Where were you headed when you found my place? Nowhere, everywhere. I was looking for work. I can teach, I can clean, I can do anything. But everyone wants addresses and references, and I don't have those anymore. He was quiet again, thinking. The chickens had settled back down, making soft sleeping sounds. Somewhere in the distance, an owl hooted. I got a guest cabin, he finally said. It's small, just one room really, but it's got a wood stove, a bed, and a table. No running water inside, but there's a pump outside and an outhouse that's clean enough. It's empty right now. May's heart started pounding again. I don't understand what you're saying. I'm saying you and your girl can stay there, while you figure things out. I can't afford rent. Didn't say anything about rent. Then what do you want? The question came out harder than she meant it, but she'd learned in the past few months that nothing was truly free. Everyone wanted something. He looked her right in the eyes then. I want you and your daughter to not freeze to death in your car. I want that little girl to have a warm place to sleep and hot food to eat. And if you want to help out around here, feed the chickens, tend the garden when spring comes, fix things that need fixing, then fine, but that's not required. The cabin's empty anyway. You don't know us. We could be dangerous. He almost smiled at that, just the tiniest bit. Ma'am, you're about 110 pounds and you cried when you thought you'd break my eggs. I think I'll take my chances. Why would you do this for strangers? He looked away, up at the dark sky full of stars. Because 5 years ago I lost everything that mattered. And for a long time I thought the best thing to do was hide up here and not let anyone close again. But lately I've been thinking that's just another way of being dead. He looked back at her. Maybe helping you helps me too. Maybe that's selfish. I don't know. But the offer stands. May felt tears running down her face now and she didn't bother wiping them away. I don't even know your name. Jack Morrison. I'm May Chen. My daughter's name is Lily. Nice to meet you, May Chen. He gestured toward a path that led around the side of the cabin. Guest house is back there. It's unlocked. I'll get a fire started in the stove so it'll be warm. Why don't you go get Lily? Jack, May didn't know how to finish that sentence. Thank you didn't seem big enough. Sorry didn't cover it. Nothing covered it. Go get your daughter, he said gently. She shouldn't be alone in a car in the middle of the night. May walked back to the road in a daze, carrying the box of food. Her old Honda was right where she'd left it, tucked partially behind some bushes. She could see Lily's small form curled up in the back seat, wrapped in both their jackets. She opened the door carefully. Baby, Lily, wake up, sweetheart. Lily's eyes opened slowly. Mama, did you get food? Yes, baby. I got food. And something else. Someone gave us a place to stay. A real place? With a roof? With a roof and a stove and a bed. Is it safe? That question broke May's heart. 6 years old and Lily had to ask if places were safe. I think so, baby. I really think so. They gathered their few belongings. 2 trash bags full of clothes, a box of Lily's drawings and books, some dishes, blankets, and the small bag of toiletries. Everything they owned fit in 3 trips. When they came around the back of the cabin, Jack had the door to the guest house open. Light spilled out into the darkness, warm and golden. Smoke rose from the chimney. The cabin was small, maybe 12 by 15 feet, but it looked like paradise to May. There was a real bed with a thick quilt, a small table with 2 chairs, shelves on the walls, and the wood stove already crackling with fire. It was warm. Actually warm. Jack stood in the doorway looking awkward. There's more blankets in that chest if you need them. I'll bring water up in the morning from the pump. There's a chamber pot under the bed if the girl needs it during the night, and the outhouse is about 30 feet that way. He pointed. I put some firewood inside already, but there's more stacked outside. Just keep the stove going and you'll stay warm. Jack, why are you doing this? May asked again because she still couldn't understand it. He looked at her, then at Lily, who was staring at everything with wide eyes. Because somebody should. And I'm here and I can. That's enough reason. He left then, walking back toward the main cabin, his flashlight bobbing in the darkness. May and Lily stood in their new temporary home, surrounded by warmth and safety for the first time in months. May set the box of food on the table and looked at her daughter. Are you hungry, baby? Lily nodded. May's hand still shook, but this time it wasn't from fear or cold. It was from the overwhelming weight of kindness from a stranger who had every right to call the police, to be angry, to punish her for trying to steal. Instead, he'd given them more than she'd tried to take. She cracked eggs into a pan she found on the shelf, adding some of the vegetables. The smell of cooking food filled the small space. Lily sat at the table, wrapped in a blanket, watching her mother cook in a real kitchen for the first time in months. As they ate together at that small table, warm and safe with full plates in front of them, May made herself a promise. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know if they could trust this strange mountain man or how long this would last, but she would find a way to repay this kindness somehow, and she would teach Lily that even in the darkest times, there are still people who see your humanity and respond with grace. Outside, the snow kept falling softly, covering the mountains in white. Inside the small cabin, a mother and daughter finished their first real meal in days, neither of them knowing that this night would change both of their lives forever. May woke up to sunlight streaming through the small window of the cabin. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she felt the warmth of the wood stove, saw Lily sleeping peacefully beside her under the thick quilt, and remembered. They weren't in the car. They were safe. She slipped out of bed carefully, not wanting to wake Lily. The fire in the stove had burned down to embers. She added wood the way her father had taught her years ago when they went camping, and watched it catch. Outside the window, she could see the main cabin about 50 feet away. Smoke rose from its chimney, too. There was a soft knock on the door. May's heart jumped. She opened it to find Jack standing there with a large pot in his hands. He looked different in daylight, younger than she'd thought, maybe mid-40s with tired eyes that had seen things, but his face was kind. "Morning," he said quietly. "Brought coffee and some oatmeal. Figured you might be hungry. You didn't have to do that." "I know." He set the pot down on the small porch. "Water pumps over there." He pointed to a spot near his cabin. "Help yourself anytime. I'm usually up early working around the property. If you need anything, just knock." "Jack, I need to ask you something." He waited, his hands in his jacket pockets. "What do you want from us?" "Really?" He thought about that for a moment. "Honestly, nothing. But if it makes you feel better to help out, you can feed the chickens in the morning. They need food and fresh water." "That's it? That's it? That's it?" He turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing. There's a town about 30 miles down the mountain. Harper's Creek. If you're looking for work, the diner there usually needs help. Owner's name is Betty. Tell her Jack sent you." Then he walked away, leaving May standing in the doorway, more confused than ever. The days fell into a strange rhythm. Every morning, Jack would leave food on their porch. Coffee, eggs, sometimes fresh bread or leftovers from whatever he'd cooked. Me started feeding the chickens like he'd suggested. Lily loved this job. She'd scatter the feed and talk to each hen like they were her friends. "That one's Penny," Lily announced on the third morning, pointing at a rust-colored chicken. "And that's Rosie. And that one's Butter because she's yellow." May watched her daughter smile, really smile, for the first time in months. The change in Lily was remarkable. Color had returned to her cheeks. She laughed again. She played instead of just sitting quietly, trying not to be a burden. Jack kept his distance, but May noticed things. He'd chopped extra firewood and stacked it near their cabin. When it rained, there was suddenly a tarp over their woodpile. The path between the cabins had been cleared of rocks and roots. He never made a big deal of these things, never mentioned them. He just did them. After a week, May decided to drive to Harper's Creek. The old Honda coughed and sputtered but made it down the mountain. The diner was easy to find, right on Main Street. Inside, it smelled like coffee and bacon and home. Betty turned out to be a woman in her 60s with gray hair pulled into a bun and sharp eyes that didn't miss much. "You're the one staying up at Jack's place," she said. It wasn't a question. How did you know? "Honey, this is a small town. Everyone knows everything. Plus, Jack called me 3 days ago, said a friend might be looking for work." She looked May up and down. "You know how to wait tables?" "I can learn. Ever work in a kitchen?" "I cook at home." "I mean, I used to." Betty nodded slowly. "Tell you what. I need someone for the morning shift, 6 to 2. 5 days a week. It's minimum wage plus tips. Tips are decent here, especially on weekends. You interested?" "Yes." The word came out too fast, too desperate, but May didn't care. "When can you start?" "Tomorrow?" Betty smiled for the first time. "Tomorrow it is. And don't look so surprised. Jack Morrison doesn't recommend people lightly. If he says you're good, that's enough for me." May drove back up the mountain with her hand shaking on the wheel. A job, an actual job. It wasn't teaching, but it was honest work and a paycheck. She could start saving money. Maybe eventually get an apartment again. When she got back, she found Jack in his workshop, a shed near the main cabin. The door was open, and she could see him working on something at a bench. She knocked on the door frame. "Come in," he said without looking up. The workshop was amazing. Tools hung on every wall, organized and clean. Half-finished projects sat on shelves. What caught her eye was the wooden toy on his bench. A horse carved with incredible detail. "You made that?" she asked. "Yeah." He kept working, using sandpaper to smooth the wood. "It's beautiful. Is it for sale?" "No, just something to do with my hands. Jack, I got the job. At the diner. I start tomorrow." He looked up then, and she saw something like relief in his eyes. "That's good. Betty's tough but fair. You'll do fine. I couldn't have done it without you. The recommendation, I mean." He shrugged and went back to sanding. "You did it." "I just made a phone call." May watched him work for a moment. "Why do you live up here alone?" The question hung in the air. She thought he might tell her it was none of her business, and he'd be right. But instead he set down the sandpaper and looked at her. "I wasn't always alone. I had a wife, Amy. We were expecting our first baby." He paused, and May saw pain cross his face. 5 years ago, she was driving to her mother's house. Ice on the road. She hit a tree. They both died instantly. "Jack, I'm so sorry. I was in the Marines then. Special Forces. I'd seen a lot of bad things, done things I'm not proud of. But losing them broke something in me. I couldn't stay in the service. Couldn't stay in the city where we'd lived. My cousin owned this land, said I could use it. So I came up here and built this place with my own hands. Been here ever since." "That's why you understood," May said softly. "About losing everything." "Yeah." He picked up the wooden horse, turning it in his hands. "I know what it's like when the world falls apart. And I know what it's like when people treat you like you're invisible because you're struggling. After Amy died, people stopped knowing what to say to me. So they said nothing. They looked away. Like my grief made them uncomfortable. People did that to me, too, after David died. After we lost the apartment. It was like I embarrassed them just by existing." Jack nodded. "That's why I gave you the cabin. Not because I felt sorry for you. Because I know you're still a person, still worth something, even when life has kicked you down." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Lily appeared in the doorway, holding something carefully in her hands. "Mr. Jack, I drawed you a picture." Jack's whole face changed when he saw Lily. The sadness lifted a bit. "You did? Can I see it?" Lily walked over and held up a piece of paper. She'd drawn the cabin, the chickens, and 3 stick figures. "One tall, one medium, one small. That's you, and that's Mama, and that's me," Lily explained. "We're all feeding the chickens together." Jack took the picture like it was made of gold. "This is real good, Lily. Can I keep it?" "Yes. I can make you more pictures if you want." "I'd like that." He looked at May. "Your mama said she used to be a teacher. You help her with that?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Mama teaches art. She's really good. She used to have a classroom with lots of kids." "Is that right?" Jack looked at May with new interest. "Art teacher. That explains a lot." "Explains what?" "Why you notice things. The way you looked at this horse I'm making. Most people just see a toy. You saw the work that went into it." Over the next few weeks, something shifted between them. May worked at the diner and came home tired but satisfied. Her tips were good, just like Betty said they'd be. She started putting money aside in an envelope. Jack showed her how to tend his garden, preparing it for spring planting. He taught her how to preserve food, how to split firewood properly, how to fix things that broke. In return, May started organizing his chaotic workshop. She didn't move his tools, just created a better system for his supplies. She swept out the shed and put labels on his jars of screws and nails. Jack didn't say much about it, but she noticed he smiled when he saw what she'd done. Lily thrived in the mountain air. She helped with the chickens, explored the woods near the cabin, and drew pictures constantly. Jack started teaching her things too. How to identify animal tracks, which plants were safe to touch, how to be quiet and patient if you wanted to see deer. One evening, May was walking from the outhouse back to the guest cabin when she heard music. She followed the sound to Jack's cabin. Through the window, she could see him sitting at a table with Lily, teaching her how to play chess. He moved the pieces slowly, explaining what each one did, and Lily watched with complete focus. May felt something warm bloom in her chest. Something she hadn't felt since David died. Not quite love, not yet, but possibility. The idea that maybe someday she could feel that way again. She knocked on the door. Jack looked up and waved her in. "Mama! Mr. Jack is teaching me chess. This one's a horse and it moves in an L shape. That's tricky." "It's called a knight," Jack said. "And yeah, it's the trickiest piece." May sat down at the table. "Who's winning?" "I am," Lily said proudly. "I took one of his pawns." "She's a natural," Jack said, and May could hear real pleasure in his voice. They played until Lily started yawning. May carried her back to their cabin, tucked her into bed, and then stood on the small porch looking at the stars. The night was clear and cold, and the sky was full of more stars than she'd ever seen in the city. She heard footsteps and turned to see Jack approaching. He stopped a respectful distance away. "Wanted to make sure you got back okay," he said. "We did. Thank you for teaching her chess. She loved it. She's a good kid. Smart too. Jack, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Does it hurt? Having us here? Does it remind you of what you lost?" He was quiet for a long time. "Yeah," he finally said. "Sometimes it does. Hearing a kid's laughter, seeing toys around, making breakfast for more than just me, it reminds me of what I thought I'd have." He paused. "But you know what? It also reminds me I'm still alive, that I'm still capable of caring about people. For 5 years I've been hiding up here, telling myself it was peaceful, but really I was just scared. Scared to feel anything because feeling meant hurting. And now I hurt sometimes, yeah. But I also laugh sometimes. And that's better than being numb." They stood in the darkness, not quite looking at each other, both understanding more than words could say. "May," Jack said softly, "I want you to know something. You're not a burden. You and Lily, you've given me something I didn't know I needed. Purpose, I guess. Something to care about besides just surviving." "You've given us more than you know," May said. "You've given us hope." The moment felt heavy with unspoken things. May felt drawn to him, wanted to reach out to thank him properly, but she also felt guilty for feeling that way. It had only been a year since David died. Was it wrong to notice another man? To feel something stirring in her heart that she thought had died with her husband? Jack seemed to sense her conflict. He stepped back slightly. "I should let you get some rest. You've got work in the morning." "Yeah. Good night, Jack." "Good night, May." He walked back to his cabin and May went inside, closing the door softly behind her. She lay down next to Lily, staring at the ceiling in the darkness. For the first time in a long time, she felt something besides grief and fear. She felt possibility, and it terrified her. The next morning, May was getting ready for work when she heard a truck coming up the driveway. She looked out the window and saw a newer pickup parked near Jack's cabin. A man got out, tall and thin, with the same dark hair as Jack. She watched as Jack came out of his cabin. The two men talked, and even from a distance, May could tell the conversation wasn't friendly. The stranger kept gesturing toward the guest cabin. Jack's body language was tense, defensive. Finally, the stranger got back in his truck and drove away. Jack stood there for a moment, then turned and saw May watching from the window. His expression was troubled. He walked over to her cabin and knocked. When she opened the door, he looked tired. "That was my cousin, Raymond. He owns this land. I lease it from him." May's stomach dropped. And he's heard people talking in town about you and Lily staying here. He thinks it looks bad. He's worried about what people will say. We can leave, May said immediately, even though the words felt like knives. We don't want to cause you problems. No. Jack's voice was firm. I told him you're staying. This is my home and I decide who lives on it. But I wanted you to know. People are talking. It might get uncomfortable. May nodded slowly. Of course people were talking. A single woman and her child, living on a bachelor's property. It looked exactly like what it wasn't. Maybe Raymond's right, she said quietly. Maybe we should go. Is that what you want? No, but I don't want to ruin your life either. Jack looked at her for a long moment. May, I spent 5 years up here alone because I was afraid of being hurt again. You showing up, trying to steal my eggs in the middle of the night, that was the best thing that's happened to me in those 5 years. I'm not losing that because people want to gossip. You barely know us, I know enough. I know you're brave and stubborn. I know you'd rather go hungry than let your daughter suffer. I know you work hard and you're kind. That's more than I knew about most people in my old life. He paused. Stay, please, let people talk. They'll find something else to gossip about eventually. May wanted to believe him, but she'd learned the hard way that kindness could turn into burden real quick. Let me think about it, she said. Fair enough. But as Jack walked away and May got ready to drive down the mountain to work, she knew the easy peace they'd found was over. The outside world had noticed them, and that always complicated everything. At the diner that day, she felt people watching her. Whispers stopped when she approached tables. Betty didn't say anything, but May could tell she'd heard the gossip too. When she got home that evening, Lily was playing with the chickens while Jack watched from his porch. The scene looked so peaceful, so right. Lily was happy here. May was happy here, but happiness felt dangerous. It felt like something that could be taken away at any moment. That night, lying in bed, May made a decision. She'd start looking for a place in town, save up enough for first and last month's rent. They couldn't stay here forever anyway. Jack had given them time to get back on their feet, and she'd used it well. Now it was time to stand on her own again. She just hoped leaving wouldn't hurt as much as she suspected it would. May had been looking at apartments online for 3 days when Jack noticed something was wrong. She'd become quieter, more distant. She still fed the chickens and worked at the diner, but the lightness that had started to come back to her was gone. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything came to a head. May was hanging laundry on the line Jack had strung up for her, when she heard voices coming from his cabin. She recognized one as Raymond's. The other belonged to a woman she didn't know. You're making yourself look like a fool, the woman was saying. Her voice carried through the cold air. Everyone in Harper's Creek is talking about it. That woman and her kid living here rent-free. What do you think people are saying? I don't care what people say, Jack replied, but May could hear the strain in his voice. Well, you should. I'm your sister and I care about your reputation. What would Amy think about this? That was enough. May couldn't listen anymore. She grabbed the laundry basket and went inside the guest cabin, closing the door firmly. Her hands shook as she folded clothes. They were talking about her like she was some kind of problem. Like she'd trapped Jack somehow. 20 minutes later, there was a knock on her door. She opened it to find Jack standing there and he looked angry. Not at her, she realized, but at the situation. I'm sorry you heard that, he said. I'm leaving. The words came out flat, emotionless. I've been looking at places in town. There's a small apartment above the hardware store. I can afford it with what I've saved from the diner. May, no. Yes. Your family's right, Jack. This doesn't look good. I don't want to be the reason people talk about you. You've been nothing but kind to us, and I'm repaying you by ruining your reputation. My reputation? Jack laughed, but there was no humor in it. I spent 5 years as a hermit. People already think I'm strange. I don't care what they say. But I care. May's voice cracked. I care because you deserve better than gossip. You deserve to have your family respect you, and as long as we're here, that won't happen. Jack stepped closer. What if I don't want you to leave? It doesn't matter what we want. It matters what's right. And you think it's right for Lily to go back to living in some tiny apartment? To lose the chickens she loves, the space to run around, the safety she has here? That hit hard because he was right. Lily was thriving here. She'd gained weight. Her nightmares had stopped and she smiled all the time now. Moving to a cramped apartment would feel like punishment. I'll make it work, May said, but she didn't sound convincing even to herself. Why? Jack's voice was intense now. Why do you have to leave? Give me one good reason that isn't about what other people think. Because I'm starting to depend on you. The truth burst out before she could stop it, and that terrifies me. I depended on David, and when he died, I fell apart. I can't do that again. I can't build my life around someone who might leave. Jack was quiet for a moment. I'm not going anywhere. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. Life happens. People die. People leave. I have to be able to stand on my own. Standing on your own and accepting help aren't the same thing. Aren't they? May felt tears burning her eyes. Because from where I'm standing, I've been taking and taking from you. Food, shelter, kindness. And what have I given you? Nothing but problems and gossip. You really think that? Jack looked hurt. You think you've given me nothing? What have I given you? Tell me. You've given me a reason to get up in the morning. You've organized my workshop so I can actually find things. You've cooked meals with me instead of me eating alone in silence. Lily draws me pictures and tells me stories about the chickens and asks me questions that make me think. You've made this place feel like a home again instead of just somewhere I exist. His voice got quieter. You've made me feel alive again. That's not nothing, May. She didn't know what to say to that. They stood there looking at each other, and something hung in the air between them. Something neither of them was quite ready to name. Lily's voice broke the moment. Mama, is Mr. Jack mad at you? They both turned to see her standing a few feet away holding one of the chickens. Her face was worried. No, sweetheart, May said quickly. We're just talking. Are we leaving? I heard you say apartment. May looked at her daughter's face and felt her heart break a little. Would that be okay with you? If we got our own place? Lily's lip trembled. But I like it here. The chickens need me, and Mr. Jack is teaching me chess. And I can play outside without Mama worrying all the time. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. Please don't make us leave. I'll be extra good. I promise. May knelt down and pulled Lily into a hug. Baby, you're already good. This isn't about you being bad. Then why do we have to go? How do you explain complicated adult situations to a 6-year-old? How do you tell her that staying feels too dangerous because your heart is getting involved, and you can't afford to have your heart broken again? Jack knelt down too, so he was at Lily's level. Hey Lily, look at me. She turned her tear-stained face toward him. Your mama's not trying to hurt you. She's trying to protect you. That's what good mamas do. They make hard choices because they love their kids more than anything. But I don't want to go. I know. I don't want you to go either. He looked at May then. How about this? Don't make any decisions today. Let's all just take a breath and think about it. Before May could answer, the sky opened up. Rain started falling hard and fast. Within seconds, it was a downpour. Come on, Jack said, standing up. Let's get to the main cabin before we all get soaked. They ran through the rain, Lily still clutching the chicken, all of them laughing despite the heavy conversation they'd just had. By the time they burst through Jack's door, they were drenched. I'll get towels, Jack said, disappearing into another room. May looked around. She'd never been inside the main cabin before. It was bigger than the guest house, with a living area, kitchen, and doors leading to what she assumed were a bedroom and bathroom. The furniture was simple but well made. Everything was neat and organized, probably thanks to his military background. But what caught her eye were the little things, Lily's drawings taped to the wall, a jar of wildflowers on the kitchen table, books stacked on the coffee table that hadn't been there before. The place looked lived in. It looked like somewhere people actually spent time, not just existed. Jack came back with towels and dry clothes. These are old shirts. They'll be big, but at least they're dry. Bathroom's through there if you want to change. The rain didn't let up. If anything, it got worse. Thunder rumbled overhead and the wind howled. Jack built up the fire in his wood stove while May and Lily changed into dry clothes. His old marine t-shirt came down to May's knees and Lily was swimming in one of his flannel shirts. I'll make hot chocolate, Jack said, and I've got soup I can heat up. They ended up sitting around his small kitchen table eating vegetable soup and drinking hot chocolate while the storm raged outside. Lily was fascinated by everything in the cabin. What's that? She asked, pointing to a carved wooden box on a shelf. That's a box I made, Jack said. It's got some special things inside. What kind of things? Jack got up and brought the box to the table. Inside were old photos, letters, and a few pieces of jewelry. He pulled out a photo and showed it to Lily. That's my wife, Amy. This was taken about a month before she died. May looked at the photo. Amy had been beautiful, with long dark hair and a bright smile. She was laughing at whoever was taking the picture, probably Jack. She's pretty, Lily said simply. Yeah, she was. Do you miss her? Every day. My daddy died too, Lily said matter-of-factly. I miss him. But Mama says it's okay to be happy even though we miss him. She says Daddy would want us to be happy? Jack looked at May and she saw something shift in his expression. Your Mama's a smart woman. That's what I tell her, but sometimes she doesn't believe me, Lily said, and both adults laughed. The storm continued all afternoon and into the evening. Jack made dinner, simple but good. Grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. They played chess and Lily was getting better. She even beat Jack once, though May suspected he might have let her win. As it got later, Lily started yawning. She curled up on Jack's couch with a blanket, and within minutes she was asleep. Jack and May sat at the kitchen table, nursing cups of coffee. The rain had finally slowed to a steady patter on the roof. She's a good kid, Jack said quietly. She is. She deserves better than what I've been able to give her. May, you've given her everything. Your love, your time, your protection. You've kept her safe and happy despite losing everything. That's not nothing. Sometimes I feel like I'm barely holding it together. That's called being a parent. My dad used to say that nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just figuring it out as we go. May smiled slightly. Your dad sounds wise. He was. Died when I was in the Marines. Heart attack sudden. He was only 58. Jack stared into his coffee. I never got to tell him a lot of things I should have said. Like what? Like thank you. Like I love you. Like I'm sorry for being a stubborn kid who thought he knew everything. He paused. After Amy died, I thought a lot about time. How we think we have so much of it and then suddenly we don't. We put things off. We wait for the right moment. But sometimes there is no right moment. There's just now. May understood what he was saying, but she wasn't ready to hear it. Jack, I can't do this. I do what? This, whatever this is becoming. I can't let myself feel things for you. Why not? Because I'm terrified. Her voice broke. I loved David so much. When he died, I wanted to die too. The only thing that kept me going was Lily. If I let myself care about you and something happens, I won't survive it. I barely survived it once. Jack reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was rough, calloused from work, but warm. May, I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen. Life doesn't work that way. But I can promise that right now in this moment I'm here, and I care about you and Lily. And I'm not asking you to fall in love with me or make big decisions. I'm just asking you to stay. Give this a chance. Whatever this is, let it be what it's going to be. People will talk. Let them talk. Your family will judge you. They already do. Raymond thinks I'm crazy for living up here. My sister thinks I should have moved on years ago and found someone new. They've been judging me for 5 years. At least now they're judging me for something that actually makes me happy. May looked at their joined hands. When had she stopped pulling away from human touch? When had she started to feel safe again? I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. What if I'm not ready? Then we'll go slow. No pressure. No expectations. Just see what happens. They sat like that for a while, holding hands across the table, listening to the rain and Lily's soft breathing from the couch. It felt peaceful. It felt right. Eventually, May stood up. I should get her to bed. You can stay here tonight if you want. The guest room has a bed. It's late and it's still raining. No, we'll go back to our cabin. But thank you. Jack helped her carry Lily, who barely woke up as they walked through the drizzling rain. He got them settled, made sure their fire was going, and said goodnight. After he left, May sat on the edge of the bed watching Lily sleep. Her daughter looked so peaceful, so content. This place had been good for her. It had been good for both of them. Maybe leaving wasn't the answer. Maybe running from fear was just another way of letting fear win. The next morning, May made a decision. She walked over to Jack's cabin and knocked. When he answered, she said simply, "We're staying. For now. But I need to contribute more. I want to pay rent. May, I told you. I know what you told me. But I need this. I need to feel like I'm not just taking charity, please." He studied her face, then nodded. Okay, $50 a month. That's not even close to market rate. It's what I'm charging. Take it or leave it. She smiled despite herself. You're a stubborn man, Jack Morrison. Takes one to know one, May-chin. They shook hands like it was a business deal, both of them knowing it was so much more than that. Neither of them was ready to say it out loud yet. But something had shifted between them. something that felt like the beginning of something bigger. What they didn't know was that in 2 weeks a letter would arrive that would test everything they were building. But for now, in this moment, they had chosen to stay. And sometimes choosing to stay is the bravest thing you can do. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. May had just gotten home from her shift at the diner when she saw the official-looking envelope stuck in the door of the guest cabin. Her name was typed across the front, and the return address made her stomach drop. Keller and Associates, the debt collection agency that had been chasing her for months. Her hands shook as she opened it. The words blurred together at first, but certain phrases jumped out. Final notice. Legal action. $63,000. Wage garnishment. 14 days to respond. May sat down hard on the porch steps. 14 days. They'd found her. After months of staying off the grid, using only cash, keeping her head down, they'd still found her. And now they were going to take everything. The small amount she'd saved from the diner, her wages, everything. She'd be right back where she started. Worse, actually, because now Lily had stability. Now her daughter had chickens and chess lessons and a place she called home. How could May explain that they'd have to leave again? That they'd be running again, Mama? May looked up to see Lily standing in the doorway, still in her pajamas. What's wrong? You look sad. Nothing, baby. Just a letter from some people I owe money to. The people Daddy's sickness cost money. Sometimes May forgot how much Lily understood. Yeah, those people. Are they mean people? No, they're just doing their job. We owe them money and they want it back. How much money? A lot, sweetheart. More than Mama has. Lily was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she said, Mr. Jack has money. Maybe he could help. No, the word came out too sharp. We're not asking Mr. Jack for money. We've already taken too much from him. But even as she said it, May knew she was out of options. She couldn't pay this debt. She couldn't fight it legally. She didn't have the resources. The only choice was to run again, disappear to another state, start over somewhere else. The thought made her want to cry. She was so tired of running. That evening, May started packing. She did it quietly after Lily was asleep, folding their clothes into the trash bags they'd arrived with. She'd leave tomorrow early before Jack woke up. She'd leave a note thanking him for everything. It was cowardly, but she couldn't face him. Couldn't see the disappointment in his eyes when she explained she had to run again. She was folding the last of Lily's shirts when she heard a knock on the door. Her heart sank. She opened it to find Jack standing there, and he was holding the letter. It must have fallen on the porch. You dropped this, he said, holding it out. Thanks. She took it, not meeting his eyes. May, what's going on? Why are there packed bags in there? I have to leave. Because of this letter? You read it? It was open on the ground. I saw enough. He stepped closer. Talk to me. What's happening? And suddenly everything poured out. The whole story. David's cancer, the treatments that didn't work, the insurance that didn't cover enough, the medical bills that kept coming even after he died, the debt collectors, the court summons she'd ignored because she couldn't afford a lawyer. Moving from state to state, trying to stay ahead of them. And now they'd found her. And in 2 weeks they'd start taking her wages and she'd have nothing left. I can't stay here and drag you into this mess, she finished. I can't let them come after you, too. So I'm leaving. Tonight. Before Lily wakes up and gets attached to this place any more than she already is. Jack was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, That's the dumbest plan I've ever heard. Excuse me? Running away doesn't solve anything. They'll just find you again. And what about Lily? She's finally settled. She has friends at school, she loves the chickens, she's happy. You're going to uproot her again because you're scared? I'm not scared, I'm practical. I can't fight them, Jack. I don't have the money or the resources. But I do. May stared at him. What? I have money. Savings from my military years, benefits from my service. I own this land outright. I can help you. No, absolutely not. I'm not taking your money. Why not? Because I've already taken enough from you. Because I can't keep being a burden. Because... She stopped, fighting back tears. Because I can't owe you any more than I already do. You don't owe me anything, don't I? You gave me a home, food, safety. You've been kind to my daughter. And now you want to pay off my debts too? What do I give you in return, Jack? What could I possibly give you that would make this even? He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. Marry me. May's brain stopped working. What? Marry me? Not because I'm trying to buy you or own you or whatever you're thinking. But because as my wife, you'd have legal protections. My VA benefits would extend to you and Lily. We could get a lawyer who specializes in veteran affairs and they'd help negotiate the debt. As a married couple, we'd have options you don't have as a single person. That's insane. Is it? Or is it practical? You said you're practical. Well, practically speaking, this solves your problem. Jack, you can't just marry someone to help them with debt. That's not how marriage works. Why not? People get married for all kinds of reasons. Money, citizenship, family pressure. At least this would be honest. We both know what we're getting into. And what are we getting into? A business arrangement? A fake marriage? He stepped closer and his voice got quiet. It wouldn't be fake on my end. May's heart started pounding. What are you saying? I'm saying I care about you. I'm saying these past few months having you and Lily here, it's been the happiest I've been in 5 years. I'm saying when I think about you leaving, it feels like losing Amy all over again. So no, it wouldn't be fake for me. But if you need it to be just practical, just a way to solve your problem, then we can keep it that way. Whatever you need it to be. Jack, I can't ask you to do this. You're not asking. I'm offering. Why? Why would you do this for me? He ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. Because I love you, okay? I didn't plan to. I didn't want to. After Amy, I thought I was done with love. But then you showed up trying to steal my eggs in the middle of the night, and you were scared and desperate and trying so hard to be brave for your kid. And then you stayed and I got to know you. The real you. How you organize things just right. How you hum when you cook, how you draw little pictures for Lily to find. How you work yourself to exhaustion at that diner and never complain. How you've been carrying this massive debt and this fear, and you still get up every morning and smile for your daughter. Tears were streaming down May's face now. Jack, I can't love you back. Not yet, maybe not ever. I'm still so broken from losing David. I know. So why would you want to marry someone who can't give you what you deserve? Because having you in my life, even if you never love me the way I love you, is better than not having you at all. And because Lily deserves stability and safety, and if I can give her that, I will. May shook her head. This is crazy. People don't do things like this, and sure they do. My parents got married because my mom was pregnant and it was 1975, and that's what you did. They figured out the love part later. They had 40 good years together before my dad died. And what if we can't figure out the love part? What if I just end up hurting you? Then I'll deal with it. But running away because you're scared of what might happen, that's not protecting anyone. That's just fear winning. May sank down onto the porch steps. Her mind was spinning. Marriage to Jack, it was absurd, impossible, crazy. And yet, what was the alternative? Run again? Live in her car again? Watch Lily lose everything she'd gained here? Spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder, waiting for the next debt collector to find her? I need time to think, she said. Okay, how much time? I don't know. This is a huge decision. You've got 2 weeks before they start taking your wages. We should probably decide before then. She laughed, but it came out more like a sob. You're really serious about this. Dead serious. Look, I know it's not romantic. I know I'm not offering you the fairy tale, but I'm offering you safety, a real home, legal protection, a partner who'll help you fight this debt instead of facing it alone. And if that's all it ever is, I can live with that. Jack, you deserve someone who can love you properly. Maybe. But the person I want is you. Broken, scared, complicated you. That's who I want.